Okay. We're going. Hello. Um, this is a bit impromptu. I haven't, made this aware. Maybe people aware of this. I'll try and, make a community post or something. But as you noticed, because I was putting out some divisional previews this year, I kind of want to get into a little bit more general NFL content. Of course, I'm going to still be doing my Chicago stuff. This is what I've been doing for the last, 4 years. We're getting into the half-decade mark. And I thought it would be nice to kind of be able to give more of a general perspective on things. So that is something that I'm going to try and do. And let's see, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Week 1 in the NFL, because a lot happened. This was a really crazy Week 1, and I mentioned it. I think I mentioned it very slightly in the Bears reaction this week. I think I mentioned it very slightly, that I've been waiting for a long time. I've been waiting. I don't know if I've ever been more anxious and more excited for an NFL season. I've never anticipated an NFL season more than this. I felt something different about this NFL season right from the get-go. And, first game did not disappoint. Are we kidding? Are we kidding ourselves? The first game didn't disappoint. The Ravens-Chiefs game was great. I really enjoyed it. I had a good time watching it. Came down to the wire. That's all that I care about. That's all I care about. I know that there's a lot of comments. A lot of people were saying it's a bad week of football, very sloppy, not a lot of passing yards, blah, 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 complaining that the quality of play isn't to their liking. At the end of the day, I'm going to tell you this right now. I do not care what the score is, how many yards there are. I do not care. If the game is within one score the entire game, or there's some sort of comeback, sign me up. I'm watching. Because, wow, there were some good games this week. First off, Thursday night, that was great. Very exciting game. For me, I was more just frustrated with Lamar's performance. I was hoping that, he was able to make some the big plays that I thought he was going to. He didn't. And I didn't like the fact that Jim coached the Chargers. John Harbaugh did not run the ball to Derrick Henry very much. He ran it a ton. He gave him the rock on that first drive. And then he decided, yeah, you've had your fun. We're not going to give you the ball anymore. I thought that was dumb. I thought that was incredibly stupid. Makes no sense. And of course, they paid for it. They have a great running game. Why are they not taking advantage of this? Why? Doesn't make any sense. Why in the world would you have Derrick Henry? You go and sign Derrick Henry, and you give him the ball 8 times in the first half after he scores you the first touchdown in your first drive? What's with the abandoning the run game? If you stuck with the run game in the AFC Championship, you probably would have won that game too. But who am I to say? I'm not an NFL coach. We can complain all we want. I thought that was really ridiculous. Justice Hill looked good, though. He was good out of the backfield, making some catches, as a more shifty guy. And can we talk about Isaiah Likely having a great game? He was great. I really liked what he did. Of course, we can't talk about Isaiah Likely without mentioning the fact that he was one toe away from tying the game. I was really upset about that. That was close. But, I'm not putting the blame on him too much. There's probably other things that happened in that game that probably shouldn't have happened that led to them being in that situation in the first place. So I'm not too pressed about it. But yeah, I thought the first game of the year was really good. To me, what mattered was the fact that Lamar had a chance to go end the game, and well, came down to the last play. And to me, that's what I look for in a football game. As a neutral viewer, I want tension. I like the tension of it all. I don't care what the score is. I don't care if it's 13-10 or if it's 45-38. I don't care. If there's tension, I'm in. Speaking of tension, how about that game in Sao Paulo on Friday? It was pretty good. I thought that was a good game as well. There were some people who were saying it was really sloppy, and their players, slipping and sliding all over the place, and these guys couldn't get any traction, ton of incompletions, blah 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 blah. Shh. One score game, virtually the entire way through. Good game, really good game, and we're complaining about this, and like the final score was 34-29. There were a lot of points. There were 3 turnovers. Jalen Hurts turned the ball over twice. Jordan Love turned it over once. But it's like there were 3 takeaways. Or, excuse me, 4. Eagles turned the ball over 3 times. And still won. So I think that shows resiliency. Saquon Barkley, I mean, he was unreal. It shows that he has got the talent, and he was stuck in a pretty rough situation in New York. Nothing too great. So, naturally, he played well with a better offensive line, scored 3 touchdowns. Nice hat trick for him. I really thought he did a good job. I liked what he had to do and liked what he had to give. Nice touchdown catch. Nice toe tap. Jalen Hurts did enough. A.J. Brown was great. Devontae Smith was important. Great on picking up crucial first downs. But of course, let's talk about the elephant in the room, Jordan Love. As you can tell by my channel name, I follow and cover Chicago sports. The most viewed videos on my channels, through and through, Bears-Packers reaction videos. I'm not happy. I'm happy that the Packers have to suffer through poor quarterback play, something that they don't know what it feels like. They don't understand what bad quarterback play is. They're finally going to understand what all the other 31 teams in the NFL have felt at some point through the last 30 years. But I'm not happy that Jordan Love is going to be taken out because he is a great marketing piece for this league. Just signed to that massive deal. So, you hope that this doesn't, turn into something too crazy, and whatnot. So I'm not too happy. And for me, it's like, if Jordan Love is not playing, in that first game that the Bears play the Packers and the Bears win, it's not going to feel as sweet as if they play the Packers and beat them at full strength. A win is a win, and they need to find a way to beat the Packers at some point. They're the only team in the last 5 years who does not have a win against a division opponent because, teams like the Jets finally were able to beat the Patriots once last year. The Broncos were finally able to beat the Chiefs once last year. When is the Bears' time to beat the Packers? Has to be soon. It can't go on for this much longer, right? Right? Oh, who am I kidding? They're probably going to get swept anyways. Who am I kidding? Can't even, think about it, man. That is just... So, I'm not too thrilled, but, if it's going to help, Green Bay struggle a little bit, take them out of division contention, if they struggle, take them out, maybe they have to fight for a playoff spot, maybe that Week 18 game between the Bears and... Oh, God. If that game is really going to decide the postseason, oh, God, the Bears are going to be cooked. They have not played up to par against Green Bay in forever. They haven't shown up in a big game, win or go home game against that team in forever. So you kind of almost hope that it is the way because that's a really good test to see if Caleb Williams is going to be the real deal. But Packers lose their quarterback. It'll look like it might be Malik Willis who will get the start in the Packers home opener against the Indianapolis Colts. Oh no, they got to play the Colts next week. Speaking of the Colts, they looked really good. Even though they lost, they looked really good. I think if there were two teams I'd pick who played the best while losing, probably the Colts for sure. It might be Green Bay. Actually, maybe LA. LA played a good game. The Rams, they played a good game. The Cardinals played a good game. Well, after even though they lost. But real quick, this is something that I'm just remembering now about Green Bay. That game should have been over in the first quarter. Let's be honest. That Green Bay Philadelphia game should have been over in the first quarter. If Green Bay was an effective offense, they would have been up 21-0 by the end of the first quarter, and that game's over. Pretty much. Because the Eagles have no momentum. They got to constantly fight back. They got to get lucky break after lucky break. And the Packers pretty much have, got to keep their foot on the gas. They'll score another touchdown or two throughout the rest of the other 45 minutes of the game, and they win the game. But the fact that the Eagles defense came through after Jalen Hurts turned the ball over and the Packers were able to get possession, give Jordan Love starting field position inside the Eagles 30. I think both drives actually started in the red zone. And for the Packers to come away with just 6 points on those drives is really, really frustrating. That has got to be incredibly frustrating for that offense. Because one moment, he's slinging the ball downfield and he's got Jaden Reed or Christian Watson open and they break off a big play. Next thing you know, they get into the red zone and they just shut down and they can't figure it out. So I'm interested to see if that changes going forward. But that game should have been over. It should have been over. But Eagles managed to stay in it. It was in back and forth. Each team taking the lead after a score, which is something I always love. As a neutral viewer, lead changes, a ton of lead changes. That's awesome. And, Eagles come out with the win. Anyways, moving to Sunday. First Sunday in the NFL. I mean, I was incredibly excited. Of course, thinking about from my perspective with the Chicago Bears, but I want to hold off on them just for a second, and I already talked to them about them in that game at length. You can find the full video on my channel here. It's about 20 minutes, of course. Like every reaction video at this point, it's like 20 minutes. I can't even if I try to cut the length down, it just never finds a way to be that way. But Sunday was great. First off, I'll get the blowouts out of the way. Carolina looked awful. Could not get anything going. New Orleans just ran them out of the building. It was 30-0, 30-3 at halftime. 47-10 the final score. Just embarrassing for the Panthers, who I thought were going to be kind of improved. Be interested to see what they do over the next couple weeks. They got the Chargers and the Raiders, so we'll see. Those are two pretty good defenses. So I don't know. They looked really bad. They could be. I don't think they're going to be that bad again. But if they play like that, they will be that bad again. Holy cow! Speaking of a team who I thought was going to be that bad, the New England Patriots winning on the road against Cincinnati. How in the world does that happen? How does Joe Burrow let that happen at home, week 1 to start the season? How does he let that happen? Yeah, no Tyler Boyd, no T. Higgins. Shouldn't have mattered. Shouldn't have mattered. Should have won that game. Should have scored more than 10 points. That is a brutal loss for the Bengals to start the season, especially because they have to go on the road to Arrowhead to play the Chiefs next week, and they're most likely going to be going down to that 0-2 hole that is just so dreaded in the NFL. The 0-2 hole is such a problem. It really is. But then again, week 1, week 2, Joe Burrow has never been like that good at all. So who knows what happens. Jacoby Brissett did what he needed to do. They only needed to score 1 touchdown. They kept the ball. They kept it in their possession. They needed to. They did what they needed to do, and that's all they need. That's all that really matters. And they did a good job. I liked what the Patriots were able to do. Get the win. That's huge for them for their season. They get to play Seattle at home this week. We'll see. Moving on. Colts Texans. What a great game. That was a great game. High flying offense. That is exactly what everyone wants to see. That is what the casual, typical NFL fan wants to see. Deep bombs, hitting, running up the score. They want the offense, man. Defense, to hell with that. We want offense and long passing touchdowns and 400-yard games. Woo! And that's what they got in that. I don't think either of those guys threw for 400 yards, but that's what they got. They got a high-flying offense. Anthony Richardson was one of the great throws I've seen, especially with the air yards. One of the deepest passes I've seen in a long, long time. And in that pocket with stumbling a little bit. I mean, it's just he's got an absolute cannon for an arm. Beautiful play. He hit another pass to Pierce later in the game. It didn't go for a touchdown, but he also had another long touchdown pass to Ashton Dulin, but he did kind of more of the work. But man, he had a great game despite the loss. CJ Stroud and that rest of that team has proven that they are the real deal. Stephon Diggs with 2 touchdowns. Joe Mixon with a touchdown. I mean, a big game for the new Texans on that offense, Stephon Diggs and Joe Mixon. They played great. Nico Collins had a great game, including that game-sealing catch. What? It was great. And I thought he was really good. That game was really good. Oh, God. And those are the next 2 Bears opponents. The Texans and the Colts. Oh, God. If they play anything like that, put 2 losses in the books. Especially if the Bears play like they did week 1. Holy cow, hang on. I don't think that's going to be the case. Caleb Williams did not look good. I'm gonna transition to the Bears here for a little bit. Just for a moment. Because, again, I've talked about this at length already this week. Caleb Williams did not look good. He didn't look awful. He didn't look terrible. It's not the worst performance I've ever seen out of a rookie quarterback in their first game. And that's because he didn't turn the ball over. He was, and I said this, he was just generally ineffective. He was ineffective. Had only 93 passing yards, missing some passes, but never forced the ball into an incredibly dangerous window. Didn't feel like he was having really dangerous passes. Not like he had a drop pick or 2. He didn't sail like a ball in the center of the field. Like, when he made throws, he made throws. Some of them were off the money. He was a little ahead, a little behind. He had a couple of passes that got deflected. And, well, of course, there's the one that bounced off a Titans defender's helmet, popped up in the air. It was caught by Rome Odunze for his first NFL catch. Loses the football like the second he grabs it, and Tevin Jenkins falls on it. So that was pretty wild, just how they drew it up. But they also, like, the offense just didn't look good. The running game couldn't get going. That's a big thing, like, as to why the offense was just that bad. Like, usually if you're, passing offense, is struggling a little bit, you're able to try and get the running game going, and you really try. It didn't happen. The Bears had under 150 total yards of offense and won the game by scoring 24 points. How in the world does that even happen? 24 points, where the offense contributes just 2 of those points. I mean, oh gosh, on my phone. I don't know how they did it. Cairo Santos scored 9 points on field goals and an extra point as well. So he scored 10 of the 24 points. So while, Caleb Williams didn't do much and wasn't able to do anything, he did lead that drive when they were down 7-0. He should have had a touchdown. Keenan Allen couldn't catch it. They got 3 points. He could, and unfortunately, there were a couple drives where they had good field position but couldn't get anything going. So those the big plays and the good field position was able to get them some points. Namely the big punt return and the first turnover of the game by the Titans. Speaking of that Titans offense, they're pretty good. The Titans really didn't look too bad. They collapsed, but it really didn't feel like a total collapse. The defense didn't like bend and break as you'd expect in like that type of a collapse. It was really weird. Titans defense was really good. The Titans coach Lee said after the game, we might have actually won the game if we punted on 1st and 10 every single time we got the ball, because the Titans offense was ineffective. Will Levis had the ball knocked out of his hand while he was trying to throw on a 3rd down, gave the Bears in good field position, scored a field goal off of it. Of course, there's the blocked punt that was the Kickstarter for everything. And then, what was Will Levis? Can anyone tell me what Will Levis was thinking when it was on that 3rd down, when they're up 1 point, and he just flings it away on 3rd down when he's about to take a sack, gets picked off and taken to the house, hits the pose in one of the great sports photos of the NFL season already, and I know that's going to be probably top 5. I don't know what he was thinking. That may have been one of the dumbest quarterback plays I've ever seen in my entire life, and I'm not gonna be like that. That was completely idiotic. That was ridiculously stupid. Situational awareness. Got to make sure. It's not like the team was down, losing like by a point, and was trying to keep the play alive. Like, it wasn't like a 2-minute drive scenario. He's playing with the lead. The Bears offense was playing terrible. The Bears defense was doing their job, and then some. But I don't understand what the thought process is in that scenario to throw the ball away like that. Tyreek Stevenson picks it off, takes it to the house for his first NFL touchdown, and the Bears are able to hold on after the offense finally contributes points, puts in the 2-point conversion. They win 24-17. Titans blow a 17-0 lead. I mean, I don't know how they did. It wasn't like the Bears scored 3 touchdowns and an extra point. They scored 3 field goals and 2 touchdowns. It was a 5 possession. It was 5 scores in a row that they let up. I know they went up 17-0 in the first half, but still, 5 possessions was basically that comeback. Without an offensive touchdown, mind you, as well. Unbelievable. But I'm going to move on here. I'm going to move on to the another interconference matchup. Cardinals-Bills. Who would have thought that might have been the best game of the week? I probably would maybe. It's tough. That was a good game. Cardinals went up, surprised everyone, going up 14 points on the Bills. Josh Allen fights back. Bills look good offensively. He's able to, help them, guide them to a big win as the defense is able to do their job at the end of the game. But the big story for me, Marvin Harrison Jr., 1 catch, 4 yards in his debut. Not to mention, on the final drive, he was wide open and for a potential game-winning touchdown. I don't know, man. Marvin Harrison Jr., that's just it's just the first game. I'm not gonna look to, and that's the thing we got to all remember as football fans. It is week 1. People will come out and play well or play poorly. I think it's just we're at week 1. Let's not get too up in arms about certain things yet. We still got a lot of football to play. And if the Cardinals keep playing the way they did, they could be scary. They could be sneaky. But I thought they played well. Bills kind of escaped a little bit, but they get a short week because they're playing in Miami this week. That's not a great game. That's not a great draw, because Miami themselves, but Buffalo came back from down 14. So did Miami. They were down 14-0 against the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday, and telling you, Tyreek Hill. Also, can I say that footage was absolutely terrible? The footage of Tyreek Hill, that was just horrible. it was said that it was like something about reckless driving or something, but like, what? What? I don't know, man. I thought it was ridiculous. And yeah, I don't know. That was just terrible. Hang on. Is there a... Alright, whatever. Yeah, I don't know, man. It was pretty bad. But Tyreek Hill showed them who's boss. He went to the game. He went off. Had an 80-yard touchdown catch and run. The NFL Scotty Scheffler, I guess. And, I don't know. He played well. I liked what he did. Tua played well. He didn't make that many mistakes. Didn't turn the ball over. Jacksonville was good. They didn't play awful. They blew the game because more just they couldn't score after they went at 14-0. But those two touchdown drives were nice. That touchdown pass from Trevor Lawrence to Brian Thomas was nice. That was a nice throw and a nice catch. But really, it's the turning point was Travis Etienne fumbling the ball at like inside the 5-yard line, which the very next play is where Tyreek Hill had his 80-yard touchdown catch and run. So that was the turning point. And it's like the Dolphins also missed a field goal, trying to tie the game prior to them actually tying the game and then ending up winning the game. So, whatever. But, yeah, I don't know. Telling you, man. It's great. It was a great week. It was a really nice week. I thought there were a lot of good games. Yes, there are 2 more Sunday morning games to get through. Steelers-Falcons. Justin Fields looked fine, though it was very, very... again, the offense was pretty ineffective. It's what we saw a lot in Chicago when Justin Fields was here. A lot of field goals and not touchdowns. 6 field goals for the Steelers, and they somehow get a win. And I think it's... I don't know, man. I don't know. Kirk Cousins was fine, I guess. I don't know. Like, he threw 2 picks. Can't do that. You can't score 10 points like that. You can't lose by only field goals. And not only lose by only field goals, but lose by 8 points. That is unacceptable for the Falcons. And, yeah, they didn't look good. And the Falcons now have to go on the road on Monday Night Football. Their next 2 games are against the Eagles on Monday Night Football and against the Chiefs at home on Sunday Night Football. Oh, that's brutal. If they find a way to win one of those games, I'll be impressed. And then the last game. Anyway, Steelers defense looked really good. That's what we're expecting from the Steelers defense. They looked good. They got the win. Daniel Jones and the Giants look freaking terrible. They look awful. Oh my God. They look terrible. Sam Darnold looked competent. Sam Darnold had a good game in 2024 as a starter. What world are we living in where he throws touchdown passes, not just that, but it's convinced they win convincingly, and they looked really good. The Giants were awful. They looked terrible. I genuinely think the Giants could have the first overall pick in the draft this year. They are terrible, and they have paid Daniel Jones this ginormous contract, and he has thrown more pick sixes than touchdowns. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? We're giving Daniel Jones $40 million. $40 million. What? He looked terrible. He looked awful. He was terrible. Every freaking word that you can think of that's an equivalent for bad, horrible, terrible. It was Daniel Jones. Oh my God. He's so bad. He looked awful. I don't understand, man. And like, like, what even was that throw that got picked off by Andrew Van Ginkel? Which, I mean, he's a great pickup for the Vikings. That Vikings defense was pretty good. Held them to just 6 points. Not like they had to do too much because Daniel Jones just can't convert. Malik Neighbors looked good. But again, doesn't matter. It's Daniel Jones throwing the football. I don't know, man. That game was over before it even started. But yeah, the Montreal Canadiens lost 28-6. With like, and not to mention, they had so many legendary Giants players and coaches in attendance for that game to celebrate the 100th season of the New York Giants. What a disgrace. What a disgrace. And the Giants get to play Washington next week, which I think is a good way to start the afternoon slate. Washington lost to Tampa Bay because Baker Mayfield just threw for 4 touchdowns. Baker Mayfield looked great. He looked great. I mean, oh my gosh. Baker Mayfield looked really good. Jay Daniels looked fine. Of course, had 2 rushing touchdowns. Looked good running the football. It's what he did great at LSU. Of course, again, not enough to get the win. That's what they get for drafting a QB from basketball school. That is 100% correct. That's exactly what happens with the Giants draft a quarterback from Duke. Not just a quarterback from Duke. A quarterback from Duke, 6th overall, where there were so many other better quarterbacks on the board. Oh my God. But yeah, they get Washington. I mean, I think Jayden Daniels wins that game. There's no way Daniel Jones wins that game with how he looked on Sunday. Jayden Daniels looked good. He didn't look great, but again, didn't really turn the ball over. He did kind of take a couple hits. But, it's not too bad, I'd say. Tampa Bay looked really good. Baker Mayfield looked phenomenal. Mike Evans caught 2 touchdowns. And he's looking to be, 11 straight years of 1,000 yards? Godwin caught a touchdown. Like, they were running all over that Washington defense. Baker Mayfield had a great game. And then in the same window, at the same exact time, would you want to see Shedeur on the Giants? Hell no. I don't want to see Shedeur, Shedeur could go to the Giants for all I care. I don't really care. He could go for the Giants for all I care and complain and, moan and whine for all I care. I can talk about CU in a minute, but I want to kind of get through this here. Baker Mayfield looked really good. While at the same time, Deshaun Watson in Cleveland looked like trash. He was awful as the Browns got absolutely steamrolled by the Cowboys. Oh my God. Deshaun Watson was terrible. And they're paying him $230 million guaranteed. $230 million. That is absurd. Oh my God, he's so bad. He was terrible. And the Browns looked terrible. He couldn't throw deep. And of course the Giants, or not the Giants, I looked at the chat. The Cowboys looked like what we'd have expected if the Browns were that bad. We're going to play that bad. Like, this is exactly what we expected from the Cowboys. Like, they didn't really incredibly impress me, but, Dak looked pretty good. He looked pretty fired up, especially after signing the big contract, which, big money for a guy who's never won 2 playoff games in a season. Woo! Okay, whatever. But yeah, Cowboys look good. The other 2 games. What are the other 2 games? Raiders, Chargers, defensive battle. Two good defenses. Jim Harbaugh seems to be an answer right now. He really does. J.K. Dobbins looked good. And I know a lot of people were like, I have a lot of concerns about the Chargers and their receiving depth and everything, and I don't know if they're going to be good because they have Quentin Johnson as wide receiver 1. we're forgetting that their defense is really good. They got Derwin James, they got Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa on the defensive side of the ball. Jim Harbaugh, mind you, is a defensive coach, and he also likes to run the football. They have J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. J.K. Dobbins looked great, and then they were able to shut down the Raiders' offense, which is exactly why I think the Raiders are going to be really bad this year. I think the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to be much worse than a lot of people are thinking they're going to be. I think that defense is going to help them guide them to 6 or 7 wins. I don't even think they get to 5 wins. That offense is not good. They got Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers, and that's largely it. Gardner Minshew, he's a solid starter, but he's a journeyman. He's not terrible. He's not Daniel Jones. But, not great either. He's a good bridge quarterback for whoever they end up picking, which could be Shedeur. Could be Shedeur Sanders. He'll be going to Las Vegas. But, real quick then, we got Denver and Seattle. Bo Nix, 2 picks, 2 costly picks. One deep in his own deep right at the 1-yard line, and one to triple coverage. He was fine. He didn't look really that good. Led a touchdown drive at the end, and what people would consider garbage time. And then, there you go. He looked okay. Geno Smith did what he needed to do. He had a nice rushing touchdown. Kenneth Walker had a nice touchdown as well. Seahawks were fine. They looked good. There really aren't any notes for me. They played a game. That's really what it is. They played a game together. Yeah, real quick, yes. I have talked about your Bills. But I will gloss over it again. I thought the Cardinals looked really good. Jumping out to that 17-3 lead is something that I'm pretty sure no one expected. I don't think anyone expected the Cardinals to jump out to a 17-3 lead. But it's a good job by the Bills to come back and face that adversity and show that they can come back and win those football games. Josh Allen looked good, 2 rushing touchdowns. And Buffalo was a team that I know a lot of people were like, oh, they're going to be terrible. Look who they have receiver. They have Khalil Shakir as their number 1 receiver. Again, Khalil Shakir is not a terrible receiver, mind you. He had a couple of really nice plays in the postseason last year. I think he's a good receiver. I like Khalil Shakir. Of course, it's not Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, but he's not bad by any means. And it's like they were competent. They scored 34 points. What are we going to complain about too much? Offensively, they came back. They were able to put points on the board. Josh Allen had that nice leaping touchdown to give the Bills the lead. But Bills got a little lucky because Kyler Murray did not see Marvin Harrison Jr. just streaking down the field for a potential game-winning touchdown, which kudos to the Bills D for holding him to just 1 catch. Cardinals looked way better than I think anyone expected in that game. And I'll be interested to see what they do against the Rams next Sunday. Bills got a tough matchup against the Dolphins coming up. First Thursday night game. Which I think is going to be a great game. I think that's a really good game that they picked for the first Thursday night game. But yeah, Cardinals play the Rams next week, and Rams look good. We're going to jump into that one. Detroit looked good. That was a good game. That was a good game. Stafford led the team back from down 14. Gave him the lead. And, the Lions just came back. They won the coin toss. And then Dave Montgomery was arrested. Right down their throat. Touchdown. Game over. Lions win. But again, it is the conversation that we have nearly every single time this comes up as, are these overtime rules any good? I still don't like these overtime rules. I still don't. The fact that there can even be a tie. No. Ties are for losers. There needs to be a winner and a loser. Especially in a game like football where there's so few games. Like, when you're only playing 17 games a year, why the hell do we have ties, man? Especially when we look at the college game. And they have a great overtime system. They have a phenomenal overtime system. Each team gets the ball from the 25-yard line and they get a drive. That is max 12 plays with the 2 first downs that you can get. And that's not even thinking about kicking a field goal. Like, I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand why the NFL continues to insist on using these terrible overtime rules. It's better that the fact that both teams can even think about possessing the ball. But, like, why? Why is there no change? The fact we can tie is garbage. And the fact that the tie is more likely because the overtime period is only 10 minutes. The Lions, they only had they had the first drive and they won on the first drive. But like they almost took up half the overtime period. They have to go back at the very least to the 15 minutes. They have to do it. They have to because these teams are too smart. They run the clock down because they know that if they force the other team to have one possession, if they can't score, they're likely getting the last possession in overtime. So you have to extend the overtime period or just go to the college system. It's just better. It's just better. I'm telling you. Because guess what? Both teams are guaranteed an opportunity to possess the ball, regardless. There's that. And frankly, if you really want to keep ties, you can just find a way to just say, hey, we're going to, have it be one overtime session where each team gets a drive from the 25, and if the game's tied after that, then the game's over. Force them to go for 2. I don't know. Anything but this. Anyways, enough of that rant. We also had the Jets 49ers game last night. Niners were held for a 3-and-out and scored, I think, on every drive afterwards. Aaron Rodgers looked fine. Of course, and the one good thing I'll say about Aaron Rodgers here, dude is the master of the free play. Like, again, he gets it once. He gets in the jump. Boom, makes him pay. Boom, makes him pay. Even though they lost, and everything. Boom, makes him pay. It's hilarious how that stuff works. It's hilarious how that stuff works. Found it interesting how they pulled him at the end of the game, though. Kind of like what CU did with Shador. I'll gloss on this because you guys can notice I'm wearing my CU shirt today. Oh my god, I'm so pissed. I'm actually so pissed about CU. I really don't. I don't want to talk about it right now. But I will. I've talked about it at length to myself, to others. I've been a little insufferable because I can't stop talking about it. They look terrible. They looked awful. I'm out. I'm so out. I've only been I have been out of that school for, let's see, May, June, July, August. 5 months. 5 months is how long I have not been on campus. And I am out. It's been 2 football games. I'm out. I'm out on Dion. It is just an absolute circus right now. It is. It is. And for him, if he wants the critics to stop, win football games. It's not that hard. You can squash criticism by winning. Did you know that? You can squash criticism by winning football games. It's not hard. Oh my god. It is such a clown show. Oh my gosh. If they lose to Colorado State, I will probably make a full rant video because I am getting real tired of the antics. Real quick this season. They have been really bad. The antics have been terrible. I cannot take it. I cannot take it. It is embarrassing that the team is 5-9 under Coach Prime. They haven't beaten a team that ended with a winning record. That TCU win will forever be unbelievable. One of the best moments of my sports fandom as a sports fan, especially because I've got Chicago to root for. Well, one of the best in the last, this decade. We'll go with that. because of course this team won three cups. To be fair, I wasn't following sports for 2 of those, but enough about that. So the CU beating TCU was probably one of the best moments of my sports fandom this decade. This season, it's been, and them beating Nebraska and them beating CSU in one of the greatest football games I've ever seen was awesome. Everything since then has been just straight downhill. It's been a straight downhill. They beat ASU in a very unsatisfying win. They can just tank for the rest of the year because they just stopped caring. They barely win against North Dakota State, which I wasn't too surprised about. I mean, with how they played last year, I wasn't too surprised that they only won by 5 points. And then you get that clown show against Nebraska. Oh man, I was livid. I mean, that whole second half, I was just sitting in my chair, just rotting away. I couldn't get anything going. And they're prancing around like everything's okay. Like the fact that Dion, at the end of the first half, when his team is down 28-0, says that his defense is doing a good job, tells you everything you need to know about what this organization is right now. And to be fair, that defense adjusted. They held Nebraska to 0 points. CU outscored Nebraska 10-0 in that second half. But it was over. It was all garbage time in that second half. The game was over at that point. It is what the Sao Paulo game could have been if Green Bay was able to score and capitalize on those turnovers early in that game. Because guess what? You turn those into touchdowns and go up 21-0. Yeah, there you go. But that pissed me off. That was really annoying. But yeah. Anyways, week 1 in the books in the NFL. Enough of me about my college. Crap in the bed against our biggest rival. Picked the Patriots winning. People said I was crazy. Who won? You were crazy for picking the Patriots. I'm gonna be honest. You are absolutely crazy for picking the Patriots to win that game. To be fair, I can see the rationale because Burrow has just not been good in the first 2 weeks of the season. Every year he's started. He's lost a lot of football games. But no person was looking at that game and saying, yeah, the Patriots, with a new coach, new quarterback, and generally incredibly inferior talent to the Bengals, was going to win that football game. But guess what? They won. They won. Who cares? They won. Bears won. I know. Bears won. I mean, I said at the very beginning of the reaction video, it's this generation's Monday night meltdown comeback. So that's like, what is it? Was that like the 3rd time ever that something like that's happened where the defense special team scores all the touchdowns, no offensive touchdown, and the team comes back from 3 possessions? Because, I mean, like, that's ridiculous. Oh my gosh, dude. I mean, I don't know. It's a largely unsatisfying win if you're the offense. Though, the big takeaway, I am incredibly happy with the defense that we have. I'm incredibly impressed with the defense the Bears have. They have an insane defense. They were shut down all day. Now, granted, they had Will Levis throwing the ball, but frankly, they had the offense that can get... They have guys on the offense that can get things done. They have Tony Pollard, who actually had a pretty good game. DeAndre Hopkins, though he was limited, he's still a little hurt. He did make a catch, keeping his streak alive, making a catch in every game he's played in. Calvin Ridley was the leading receiver. I think he had 3 catches for 50 yards. Tyler Boyd is their 3rd receiver. They should have won that game. They should have been able to salt that one away. They really should have. But with Will Levis as their quarterback, he was largely ineffective. Every deep shot from both quarterbacks was off the mark. Both defenses played phenomenal. They played great. That is a game where you look at it and you're like, yeah, offense was bad, but damn am I happy we have that defense. Damn am I happy that we have that defense. 3 takeaways. Darrell Taylor, who we got for a 6th round pick, by the way, 2 sacks and a strip and a forced fumble. TJ Edwards with the fumble recovery. I mean, Tyreek Stevenson with the pick 6 to give the Bears the lead, a lead they wouldn't relinquish. And then Jalen Johnson ends the game. 3 takeaways. All in the second half, by the way. And 4 if you include the blocked punt that was returned for a touchdown. That's how this team has won football games in the past for a century now, and it continued. But if that defense can play like that and force takeaways, it's going to make Caleb Williams' job so much easier. It really is. Oh my gosh, if that defense plays the way that they do against everyone, Caleb Williams is not going to have to do much to win football games. I mean, he didn't have to do anything. He didn't do anything, and he won that game. But of course, that is a game that most, if not all, rookie quarterbacks have at some point in their rookie season, if not multiple of those types of games. So I'm not too pressed about it. It is his first game. But, they couldn't. Holy cow. They could not have started 0-1. They could not have started 0-1. Not at all. That absolutely could not have happened. Especially with them playing the Texans and the Colts these next 2 games, who, by the way, had played in probably the best game of the week. They both played great. I don't know, man. Sunday night, Houston. Save me. That's going to be a tough game. That's going to be a tough game to watch. For me, that game is going to be all about if Caleb Williams can actually produce on offense, the running game can get going, if the offense can look confident. If the defense, bends a little bit, lets up a couple plays, the Houston Texans are a better team than the Chicago Bears. They just are. But they have the corners, I think, to match the 3-headed monster in that receiving core in Diggs, Dell, and Collins. They have guys who can cover them. Now, of course, is that going to happen? Probably not. Because guess what? Those guys are good at football. They had a good run defense. Tony Pollard still got about 80 yards rushing. Joe Mixon went for over 130. If they can get him to under 75, that's pretty good. They probably would also like to, I think if they want to win, they'd probably like to sack CJ Stroud probably about 3 times again. But man. Oh boy. I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see. Bear down. Bears get the Texans, and then they get the Colts on both road games, by the way. Oh. And then they get a game at home against the Rams, which, by the way, that's just brutal now. It's looking much worse, especially if the Colts look really good in Green Bay this upcoming week. It's gonna be tough. But yeah, there you go. Week 1's in the books. If I had to give you the 3 teams that impressed me the most this week, I put the Cardinals in there. The fact that they only lost by 6 points is impressive. Cardinals impressed me this week. Colts impressed me this week. Losing by 2 points. I had a feeling they were going to keep that game close. I was still picking the Texans to win the game, but I knew that the Colts were going to keep it close, but they still impressed me. Richardson did, for sure. And then the Niners. I'm going to pick the Niners. 3 teams that impressed me. The Niners. Chargers are also kind of in there as well. But I'll give them both a shout out. I'll still pick the Niners who kind of were able to, or no. They really just overcame. It was really one guy, Jordan Mason, that really impressed me. The offense, the rest of the team was as advertised as well. Christian McCaffrey was just a big injury, and Jordan Mason stepped up in a big way. Chargers impressed me because they just looked in control of the game. When a lot of people were saying that they were not going to even be really any good. But to me, it shows that Jim Harbaugh's it really does show that Jim Harbaugh is a good football coach. And he won the game that he wins football games. Run it down their throats, have some good defense, some good old Bears football mentality for you for the former Bear quarterback and former Charger quarterback. But yeah, Chargers impressed me. Cardinals impressed me. And the Colts impressed me. Of course, the Patriots also impressed me a ton. I'd actually put them over the Colts, actually. So, final answer. I didn't take a really good look, I will admit. Cardinals, Chargers, Patriots. Patriots impressed me by winning that football game at all. Defense played well, only holding the Bengals to 10 points. Arizona plays at home against the Rams. Tough game. New England plays at home against Seattle. And who knows? That's gonna be a good game. That might be a way better game than we think. Then the Chargers are playing on the road against Carolina, who probably was the team that looked the worst. If it's not, that defense looked bad, but the Giants were pretty bad as well. But yeah, that might be a lopsided matchup. I'm interested. 3 games I'm looking forward to next week in week 2. Bills-Dolphins. I'm really looking forward to that Thursday night game. That is going to be a great game. I'm really looking forward to it. Tampa Bay. I wasn't about to say Titans. Buccaneers, Lions. Buccaneers, Lions. I like that game a lot. Interested to see what Baker Mayfield can do against that Detroit defense when he gets there. And then give me Colts Packers as a game that really intrigues me. I'm really interested to see how the Colts play on the road. See if the Packers take a big drop off. They drop off with Malik Willis under center. That New Orleans Dallas game looks pretty good too, with both teams playing very well this past week. Who knows? That could be a sneakily good Saints team that might go on the road and catch Dallas overlooking an opponent as they look ahead to Baltimore week 3. But with that being said, I think the streams are on its course. We've gone for about an hour. That's probably about the range I want to keep these. I want to try to do these weekly. I want to try and be able to sit here and talk for about an hour or something. Maybe you bring a friend on or something, someone else in as well to talk shop, talk football. And I want to make sure that you guys are able to, be involved with it as well. So, yeah, thanks for the people who stopped by. I was not expecting this to, blow up. It didn't, but that's okay. It's the first one. I didn't really make any notice. I just kind of did it. So I'm gonna try and make a community post here later today to basically make a commitment to do this every Tuesday. At some point during Tuesday, whether that be right around now, during the day, during the afternoon, or during the evening, or maybe even Monday evening. But I want to be able to do it at some point. Anyways, thanks for stopping by. If you did, have a good day, and bear down. I'll see you guys next time.